So you've always wanted to write a book about your story. That might not be the best way. Hi, I'm Angelina Alsop of thetravelingauthor.com, where books plus travel equals happiness. For the best book recommendations, writing and travel tips, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell to be notified when I post a new video every Wednesday. Today I'm saying hello from sunny Arizona in Old Town Scottsdale, really cool spot. And in this video, we will be exploring 5 signs that indicate that you might not want to write a memoir. If you really want to write a book about your life, I think that's great, really I do. However, at the end of this video, you will see several signs that might make you rethink how your story should be told. Stay tuned to the end because learning this might save you a lot of time, money, and heartache. Sign number 1, your story doesn't fit the typical plot of a good memoir. So this could be like a section of your life or your whole life in general, whatever you were wanting to write about. But typically, the plot of a good memoir is there's this big thing that they want, an obstacle in their way, some inciting incident that kind of triggers the movement towards this big object, and then there's usually heavy costs, heavy emotions and heavy costs to getting what they want. So if you're missing one or many of these elements, a memoir might not be the most effective way to tell your story. It might not be the good method to do it. Number 2 is you don't have a unique vantage point or situation. So for example, 9/11 was very traumatic for a lot of people, including people who were just watching on TV. Now, if you're one of those people, you're watching on TV and you had no one that was impacted by it, you weren't personally impacted by it, like in that no one died in your family or your friends or anything like that. You weren't inside of it. That's not a very unique vantage point because that was the situation for 99% of Americans out there, maybe 90%, because maybe a good amount of people had someone in New York or had someone in the towers that they knew. A good vantage point is important for the situation. And I am not downplaying traumatic experiences. I'm not saying if, like, you know, everyone in America broke their arm in some terrible way that makes your pain less important. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the plot of a good memoir specifically, has a unique vantage point. Sign number 3, you have some resolution to your big question or thing or event that we're driving towards. So the big thing that you have, you're not still looking for it. So for example, if your big goal was join the Olympics, right? You've either failed at that solidly, won at that and it wasn't what you expected, or won at that and it was everything you wanted and more, right? These are some examples of having a resolution with that. But if you're still viable and you're 17 years old and you're just still going after that goal, and that was the big thing, that was your memoir, what your memoir is about, is like you going after this big event, but you're still, I'm still working on it. Maybe it's not time for you to write your memoir, right? Maybe it's time to write something else, right? And I'll go over that at the end of stay tuned to the end of this, and I will give you some options of how to give your story, like tell your story and give it some justice, right? It's an important story. It's your story. So you want to give it the best avenue that you possibly can. And a memoir just might not be that for you and your story. Sign number 4 is you're just not into writing. You hate writing. You hate reading. You're not willing to write consistently. Waiting for your muse does not write a book. Sorry, discipline does. Or you just don't have money for a ghostwriter. Okay, then maybe writing a book is just not for you. Writing a book is like, think of it as like the mental equivalent of running an ultra marathon. So if you were to walk up to an ultra marathoners and say, I want to run 50 miles, and then in the same breath, like the same paragraph, you say, I hate running, the first question they're going to ask you is, well, why do you want to run an ultra marathon? Why do you want to write a book? It's one of the hardest ways to tell a story. Why do you want to do it this way? There's other ways that I mean, I don't think this is true, but other people are saying that it's a dying industry. It's not, I don't think it is, but like with the wave of YouTube and Facebook and all of these other ways to tell your story, which again, I'll go over in a little bit later. Why the hardest one? Why? Like especially if you don't even like reading, why write a book? So, something to consider. It might just not be your avenue. Does any of this apply to you? Comment below and let me know. Were you considering writing a book or a memoir about your story, and now are reconsidering it? Are you still thinking you're going to go through? Have you ever thought about writing your own book? Let me know. Comment below and let me know. I'm really curious. I want to know about you. You've decided that maybe writing a memoir is not for you, or you're considering maybe doing another avenue. What do you do instead? What might be a better fit for your story? One option is to write a shorter book, nonfiction book in your business or your area of expertise, or in an industry that you're really solid on. So let's say a yoga instructor. But the story you wanted to tell was about like this car accident. And that writing your personal anecdotes, your personal story in a book like that is so impactful. People love it. They love to know and understand the author behind the words that they're reading. They love to see that they're a real person. So this is actually a really effective place to put your story in, where it will impact a lot of people really positively. Something to consider. Use social media. This is actually really powerful too. So a lot of people are doing long form posts where they're giving like daily updates and stuff like that. And I love it. I'm not a mother and I'm not planning on being a mother, but I love reading from the vantage point of someone like that. So I love it when people share their story. Sometimes they do on long form posts. Sometimes it's just a quick little quirk. Something funny that happened, something frustrating that happened. Tell your story that way. Like a lot of people would be really interested in, and it's something a little bit deeper than what the traditional like feed will show. So it's just a little bit more impactful. Podcasts. This is an interesting situation where podcasters are looking for people with interesting stories to tell. They are looking for you. Reach out to them. Find someone that's in your niche, or maybe not niche is the right word. Like, for example, if there's a podcast about women empowerment and you're a woman who went through something really tough and trying and you got through on the other end, they want to talk to you. So talk to them. That's a great platform to share your story. And it doesn't have to be one. You can talk to many podcasters, and throughout many different genres too. Something like that, where you overcame something, or you went through a scary experience, and this is what you learned from that. A lot of industries can take those lessons that you learned and apply it to themselves. Like in business, you can do it, and you can do it in like learning yoga and connecting, meditating stuff. Like it's being a good parent. You have to get over some things, and become a parent. So it's a great avenue. YouTube is a great avenue for telling your story, and you don't need a lot for it. You don't need a lot of expertise. You don't need a lot of money. You don't need a lot of equipment. A lot of it you can just borrow. You can do it from like your phone, and it's enough. And then you can just share your story, and it's real and it's raw, and people are looking for that. People want to connect to others. It's a natural human instinct to want to connect to other people's stories and to hear stories. It's natural. Start a blog. It's a little bit more complicated. It's a little bit tougher to do. It doesn't have to be. You can do something on like a free or cheap blog. Wix.com has some amazing templates that you can make a really cool looking thing. It's super easy to use. So that's one way you can share your story. And then the writing is just a little bit shorter form. Haro.com is another one that a lot of people don't know about. This is called help a reporter out. So reporters will write and ask experts questions. Well, if they're asking about trauma, or I don't know what your story is, like cars, or you can talk about your experience as a mechanic, whatever your your story is that you want to share, reporters are out there looking for sources. So no, go to Haro.com. Or you can do something a little bit more traditional or reach out to networks and reach out to your local news channel. They're also looking for stories. They want a good spin. And even if it happened in the past, they might be interested, especially if it's something that can tie somehow in a current event somehow, right? So local hero has an interesting, local business owner has an interesting past. They love stuff like that, a new spin. Talk to your local reporters, talk to talk shows, documentaries, local news. All of those need people like you. They need stories. They're looking for people to tell their story for. So don't take the first no as an answer. Don't take the 50th no as an answer. Just keep moving forward. Just keep asking. Just keep reaching out. Someone wants to know your story. Reach out to them. An author. This one is a little bit different, especially if they're writing fiction. It may not be your story, but it might have pieces of your story. And if that's what's important to you, that might be a good avenue. So for example, City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert interviewed a bunch of cabaret girls from the 20th. She didn't think people were going to talk to her and open up about it. They were so excited to tell their story. So you could be one of those people. You could be the cabaret girl of the 20s, you know? Like if you have something that interesting that happened to you, reach out to authors that are in your genre, especially if it's like they do period pieces or something specific about certain areas. If you came from Lebanon and you know of a writer who's writing in that kind of genre, reach out to them and say, hey, I mean, you know how excited I would be if I was writing that specific genre, like a thriller novel located in the Middle East, and someone reached out and said, hey, I'm from Lebanon. Would you like to know my story? Yes. So reach out to an author, befriend them on Facebook, and reach out via whatever, you know? Write a journal, write letters to your children, and write out your story. Tell the people who will care the most about your story. Tell it to them. You know, do little video journals like, you know, this cute little, I haven't seen those too much anymore because people just post them automatically, but like the videos of like, hey, you know, this is your first birthday and I love you so much. You can videotape yourself or write a journal or write a letter to your kid telling this important story that was for you, you know? Finally, you could just write a memoir anyways. You know, who am I to say that you shouldn't write your memoir? These are just signs that it might not be the best avenue for you, but you know, screw it. If you want to write a memoir, write a memoir. But just know that it will take work. It's a long form, but just push through it anyways. Don't take the first no. Don't take, you know, people saying you shouldn't write it as ways to stop you. Write when you don't feel like writing. My sister-in-law's grandmother wrote an autobiography. My sister-in-law is loving it. It just talks about like her German roots, and that's so cool, you know? The world needs to hear your story, but maybe a memoir is not it. Maybe it is. Now you know if writing a memoir is for you or if it isn't. If it is, I highly recommend using a tool called Scrivener. I don't get a kickback from them. I should, hint, hint. But it is $40 and it's amazing. It's super organized. You will love it. I have created a template for it for novel writing specifically. And I think it would be super helpful for a memoir as well. So if you want that for free, you can download that absolutely for free. The link is in the description. All right, so now you know how to write a memoir, but what does it take to write a book quickly? I created a whole video explaining that, and that will be linked in the end of this video. If you thought this video was helpful, please subscribe, hit that like button, share with a friend, hit the bell, let me know if you like these videos. Liking and commenting shows me that I should make more of these videos. All right, see you in the next one. Bye.